am super excited about today's video because I've been watching a couple videos lately, one by Simply Nailogical and one by Safiya Nygaard, where they take these microscopes that they bought off Amazon and they look at nail polish and then makeup under those microscopes and they see what they look like. And of course, as soon as I saw those videos, I was like, I wonder what my animals look like under this microscope. My microscope just came in today, and so we are gonna look at different animals under the microscope. So just to let you guys know, this isn't gonna harm the animals in any way. It's literally just a microscope with a light, an LED light on it that is hooked to my computer, so I can literally look at my arm, and it's not even hot or warm or anything. That looks super gross. And I wonder what my tattoo looks like. That's kind of weird. Okay, sidetracked. Let's look at some animals. So we're gonna start with Sterling. Sterling does have a little bit of shed left on him. Unfortunately, he shed back to back, like in the span of 2 weeks maybe, which is crazy. And the second time he showed no signs that he was gonna shed, so I was not prepared. But yeah, I just wanna let you guys know that. But let's look at him under the microscope. That is crazy. You can see his little spots. Oh, I was not expecting that. That is absolutely insane. Let's see if we can turn up the magnification a little bit. I'm super excited about this, guys. Science was my absolute favorite subject in class, and now I'm looking at snake scales under a microscope. And let's look at some of that shed that's coming off and see how that looks. Oh, you can kind of see where they border around the scales. Zoom out. You could see the lens when it zooms out, which is kind of weird, but it's fine. You can see that's where the shed is coming off, and that's where his body is. That's so cool! Okay, I'm obviously just going to be doing their backs and their tails and stuff. I'm not going to magnify anything in their faces or anything like that. Let's see, I know Sylvanus is the same kind of snake, but she's a different color, so let's see what she looks like. Next up, we have Sylvanus, and if you've watched my previous videos, you know that she doesn't like me at all, so this is one of the very few times that you will see me hold her. She is my husband's snake, and she is wonderful. All right, let's look at her scales under this microscope. All right, so already there's a pretty big difference. I think it's so cool how their scales look almost wet and slimy under this microscope. It's so cool how you can see the separation of the scales. On Sterling's, there were points where you could actually see his veins in that area, which I thought was really cool. And I didn't do Sterling's belly scales, and snakes have different scales on their bellies than they do on their backs. So let's see what her belly scales look like. Already you can see they're a lot more veiny. You can actually see her scales move around as she's breathing. Like you can see them separating and coming back together, which I think is really cool. Just more veins when you zoom in is really all you can see. But I'll let her go back to sleep now since she is locked onto me. Onto the corn snake. And his scales, just looking at them, look basically the same as the ball pythons, but they're definitely a lot smaller. They also are more raised, I guess, if that makes any sense. He kind of looks like he's about to shed soon. He's looking a little bit dull in color, but his eyes are still clear. They're not white or blue or anything. So let's see what he looks like. Okay, so, I mean, it kind of looks like he actually is about to shed. You can see the outline of skin around his scales. If you saw my corn snake care video, I mentioned that this guy does not stop moving, so getting a steady picture of him is proving to be kind of difficult. Let's look at his belly scales. They basically look like the ball pythons, except for he has that, he has almost a sheen to him. But that might just be because, like I said, he is about to shed. All right, that's super cool. All right, let's move on to the next one so this video isn't 30 minutes long. Next up, we have Mrs. Zaz here. And Zaz is kind of cool because she has all different kinds of scales throughout her entire body. So we're gonna have different things to look at.
And this, guys, is the moment that I realized that there was a cover on the microscope that had been there the whole time.
So this is the scales on her back. You can see all the different coloration in each scale. In this scale, you can see the little black dot. That's actually her spike, has her spike coming out of the scale. You can kind of see some white dots on her body, and I'm pretty sure that's calcium powder because I just fed her crickets and she was in her feeding bin with calcium powder and crickets, and I think it's just all over her. All right, now let's do her arms. So already on her arms, you can see that that's a different kind of scales there. And then let's do these spikes. These spikes along her side. We'll see what those look like. Sorry guys, most of this video I'm probably going to be looking away because this thing hooks to the computer and I'm looking at the monitor to make sure I'm recording what I think I'm recording. So that's what her spikes look like. That is awesome. That actually looks like dragon spikes. That is so cool. That's definitely my favorite. They literally look like dragon spikes. And then we're gonna do her tail. Let's see what her tail looks like. It's so cool because her scales almost look like they're plates and there's like lava underneath them. You can really see all the oranges in her scales here. And then we'll do her fingernails, I guess. Let's see what those look like. They literally look like dog nails. Let's do her beard. Well, I don't want her to look into the light. We'll do her belly. And you can see as they go up and down as she breathes. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed with this $20 Amazon microscope. All right, that's enough for her. Now we'll move on to Percy, my leopard gecko. And if you guys remember, about a month ago, she lost her tail. And so her tail has actually regrown pretty nicely. So quick update, that's what a month of tail regrowth looks like. She only lost from this down. She didn't lose her whole tail. So that's what a month in looks like. You can see all the little wrinkles and bumps on her body. Again, she has those white specks, and I also just put calcium dusted crickets in her enclosure. So maybe that's what that is, or maybe they're just dirty, maybe they need baths. I don't know. Then we'll go to her tail. So this is what her tail looks like. You can see little scales in there, but it's definitely not like Zaz and the snakes where they look like dragon scales. They're kind of just little circles. Then we'll move down to her regrown tail. Tiny little scales forming. And you can see that the skin on her regrown portion of her tail is almost dry. And even when you just look at that regrown part of her tail, it looks like dry skin, like she's shedding it all the time. And I'm assuming that's because as reptiles grow, they shed. And her regrown tail is regrowing, so it's getting bigger. I'm assuming it's just like in a constant state of shed. And then we'll do her little toes. There's her little toes digging into my skin. So that is Percy's. And now we will go to the Crested Gecko. It honestly took me about 15 minutes to find him, but here is Dexter. He was in like a crevice corner of his tank. But this is Dexter. You can see him. He is fired down right now and he is super pale. But anyways, let's see what he looks like. Those are his scales, which are very similar to Percy's scales in that they're little dots. And those are his little spikes, which are adorable. They look like tiny baby dragon spikes. And his little feet. Then we'll go down to his tail. He has one black spot here that he's always had, which I thought was super adorable. There's this one black spot. Then down to his tail. The scales are definitely closer together than they are on his body. Which the scales are different on the tip of his tail because they use their tails to kind of hold on to things. Little scales on his belly, little baby dragon scales. There is his foot pads. Those foot pads are how they grip onto glass and surfaces that normally would not be able to be gripped onto. And now that I was able to get this footage, even though I had to go back and get it, we will move on to my Gargoyle Gecko, Goliath. And next we have my Gargoyle Gecko. You guys don't really get to see him a lot because he is so small and I try not to take him out too much. All right, we're looking at his hands there. And his back scales are already different from the other ones. And you can see where the colors make the stripes that he has. And he also has a regrown tail, so you can see there's the base of his tail, and it goes down, and that's the regrown part. The colors are basically the same. I mean, me looking at it where I'm at now, I can see that his tail's been regrown because it's more of a darker brown color, and there's also that notch right there where his tail starts. I actually got him with a regrown tail, and he has a little kink in his regrown tail, so there that is right there. Under the microscope, he definitely looks like he's made of pebbles almost, I guess. But we'll put him back so we don't stress him out. I also really quickly wanted to look at each of my dogs' fur under the microscope. I don't know, science. Just a fair warning, my dogs have not had a bath in a little bit, so we'll see what we can see. So that is Sam's very dirty fur. I'm gonna be leaning down on the floor for this. So that's what his hair looks like under the microscope. You can definitely see how dirty it is. See if we can zoom in. Those are his individual little spindles of hair. And they basically look like human hair, just a lot dirtier. So let's go on to Maui. All right, so we're gonna do Maui next. I imagine it's not gonna be too different from Sam's, just a different color, but we shall see. So Maui's, you can see the browns and the blacks, even though he refuses to stay still. There's mostly black hair. Let's look at his nose. So that's a quick glimpse of his nose under the microscope. It's kind of cool. So I'm also pretty curious about like the bugs that I feed the animals. So if you don't like bugs and you're super squeamish, you might want to look away at this point. So I think I'm gonna look at superworms, mealworms. Maybe I can find a freshly dead cricket in there. I'm not gonna try to handle an actual cricket. And then we'll look at the pupa of a mealworm turned into a beetle. And then also my husband found this really cool Hercules beetle when he was out working, and I really want to look at that too. So we'll look at those really quick. Again, if you don't like bugs, this is the part where you probably want to look away, and yeah. So we'll start with the superworms. Unfortunately, I am out of hornworms and doobie roaches, or else I'd do those too. That is what he looks like. That powder on him is the oat brand that comes with them in the little containers. That, if I can get it, there's his little legs. That is what his dusty face looks like. That is their little faces, and you can see he has his little pincers in his mouth because he's not pleased. Next we'll do the mealworms, which I imagine are going to look pretty similar, but we'll see. So these are the mealworms, and then he scurries away. They're actually quite different than the superworms, which is pretty surprising. He's letting me see his face much better than the superworms did. Look at those little pinchers. Now we're gonna do a pupa. I don't know. This is just a mealworm turning into a beetle. This is the stage before that, and as you can see, they are very much alive and they move around. They look like little hatching aliens, and they're super creepy. And I was able to find a freshly dead cricket, which, I mean, isn't that hard? If you guys have crickets, you know they die nonstop. So we're gonna look at that under the microscope. I don't really want to touch it, so we're just gonna keep it on the desk. That is what a cricket looks like. You can see his wings and his body, and it's like he has, is that his leg? It looks like they have little hairs on their legs. Never knew that. That's kind of weird. Little spikes on their feet. And this one was a girl because she has a little stinger thing that they use to implant their eggs into the ground. And I said this one was freshly dead. Apparently it's not. If you look right there, it is still barely moving. So I guess it's on the verge of dying. And now I kind of feel bad about it. And these are like little mites or parasites. I don't know what that is eating this cricket, but that's concerning.
So when I got done filming, I did some research on these, and apparently they're cricket mites, and they're super common, but it also means you have to wipe out your population of crickets and start over. So I'll definitely be going back to dubia roaches.
That kind of makes me not want to feed these to my bearded dragon and leopard gecko anymore. I am thoroughly freaked out right now, and I don't want to feed these to my animals. That is super gross. Carrying on. And then completely not reptile related at all, but my husband found a Hercules beetle when he was walking around at work, and I think it looks super cool. I've honestly never seen one of these in real life. This is what he looks like without a microscope, and I just want to see what he looks like. So that's what the back looks like. If you guys can hear that sound in the background, it just started raining. So I'm going to try to hurry up and wrap this video up before it starts full-blown storming here. And that's like some fur between his neck and his back plates. And then the belly. This thing is having a really hard time focusing on him, maybe because he's so shiny and the light's reflecting back into the microscope. I don't know. And then we're going to look at his face. So that's underneath his face. Those are his little pincer things, maybe. I don't know body parts of bugs. And then this is his little rhinoceros thing that he has going on. Because I guess the Hercules beetle is a type of rhinoceros beetle, which I did not know that either. Those are his little feet. That's what he looks like. Super cool. I'm very impressed. And that's it, guys. That is all my animals, of course, minus my fish, because I'm not going to take a fish out of water just to look at him under a microscope. Anyways, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Like I said, I saw those videos that Safiya Nygaard and Simply Nailogical did, and I was super excited to get a microscope and look at my animals, and I ordered it on Amazon like 2 days ago, and it's here, and I was super excited, and it did not disappoint at all. But if you want that microscope, like I said, I'm going to put it in the description below. But yeah, that's about it. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. If you like this video, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button below. I put out new videos every single Sunday. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye.